Hey guys, if you have a YouTube channel, this is something you absolutely have to know about. So what's going on right now is there is a company called We Are Era Music BV, and they're using AI at a massive scale to scan all of YouTube, looking for any videos with any kind of background music. And then they're filing fraudulent copyright claims. Now, a little bit of backstory here. This is a European media company formerly known as DiviMove, and they manage digital content, creators, talent, influencer marketing, and content rights. But like I said, what they're doing is they're using AI to go out and file fraudulent copyright claims on literally any video that has any kind of background music. And this is for artists and music that they don't even represent in any way, right? They are not affiliated with any of these artists. They are not affiliated with any of this music. They don't own it. They don't control the rights to it, nothing. And I kind of went down the rabbit hole, I think it was last week sometime, when I got hit with one of these fraudulent claims, started doing some research and found out just how massive of a scale this is operating on. Now, they're not asking for any money. They're not asking for you to link to them or credit them or mention them in any way. So what's the end game here, right? It doesn't seem logical. Well, here's the crazy thing. During the dispute period and for the life of that video, if you lose the dispute, they get to keep any ad revenue that your video generates. So they're basically just playing a huge numbers game here. So a lot of people won't even know that there's a copyright claim. In my case, when I got the notification of the copyright claim, I just figured it was some one-off thing. I went in, I disputed it, and I'm going to walk you guys through that process here in just a few minutes. But I went in, I disputed it, I ended up winning. But a lot of people don't even know that they have a copyright claim. And once I went into my admin, into my YouTube studio, I later saw that damn near every video I've got has one of these copyright claims. Now, it's also worth noting that this company is not the only one doing it. There's a few others, and I'll probably do some videos on them as well. The process is the same. The motivation is the same. Everything is the same. The only difference is there's a few different companies doing this. This particular company, though, We Are Era Music BV, they seem to be the most egregious of these companies. Now, like I said, when I went in, I had never received any notifications about this prior. Never got any emails from YouTube, nothing. When I went into YouTube Studio, though, I saw copyright claim after copyright claim after copyright claim. So there's a good chance that if you have any background music in any of your videos, you've probably got some of these copyright claims against those videos. Now, like I said, most people won't know, so you do need to go head over to YouTube, look in your YouTube Studio, and I'll show you exactly where to find that in just a second. But go and look. Now, this didn't affect me in any way because I don't have any ads. I have ads completely turned off on my YouTube, so it doesn't display any ads. So there was no revenue for them to take from me. But from their perspective, they're using AI, they're doing this at scale. They don't give a shit. They're just going to go ahead and hit everyone they can find, and sometimes they win, sometimes they lose, right? The other side of this is a lot of people are going to be scared to dispute. YouTube does have some pretty scary language for some, where basically it tells you that if you lose the dispute, then your channel could actually be terminated, which to me is crazy. It's also worth noting that there's no penalty to these guys from YouTube. Like, YouTube doesn't do anything about them doing these false copyright claims, which to me is mind-blowing. So let's talk about how this impacts your channel. First of all, even if there is this copyright strike for this supposed copyright infringement, which is bullshit, your video still remains visible. It still shows up in search. It still shows up in recommended videos. So from a visibility perspective, it does not affect you in any way, shape, or form. So no worries there. Right now, the only real effect is that you cannot be monetized on YouTube. So if you are monetized, like I said before, any of those videos, that other company will get the revenue that that video generates. And then also, by having multiple strikes like this, there's a good chance that your monetization could be revoked. So that could be a problem from that perspective if you do make money from YouTube. Now, long term, and I do not have any evidence to support this, this is just a gut feel. Historically speaking, my gut feel is almost always right. Long term, I think that having a bunch of these copyright strikes could impact your overall channel health, especially with the insane AI moderation that's going on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have seen the stories, but AI has been terminating millions upon millions of YouTube channels strictly using AI with no real human oversight. So my suspicion is these copyright claims maybe count as kind of like points. And if you get enough of them, then it could affect your channel overall, even though supposedly it doesn't affect your channel at the moment. Like I said, that's just a gut feel. We'll see what happens over time. But in the meantime, if you've got these, you absolutely should dispute them. So what do we do in that case? First of all, it's relatively easy to dispute these. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up, when you go into your YouTube studio and go over to your content, what you're going to see, I've got parts of this blurred out. What you want to look at here is this column where you see restrictions. All right. And you'll see here, none, 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 and then copyright. Right. Now, if you click on that or hover over that, I forget which one it is, you'll get this little pop-up window. And then you can click on that little button that says see details. So that's going to pull us up into here. And it now tells you, it's got the video information. It tells you that your channel is okay, your visibility is okay, all that's still good. It tells you what content, what music is supposedly infringing. And then you have see details or take action. No real point on clicking on see details here. I would just click on take action. At this point, it's going to bring up several options. You can erase the song. I've never tried that. I don't know how that works. I don't know how it would take the song out if it's like, let's say you've got background music while you're talking. I don't know if it could even do that, right? I don't know if you're uploading the video with that music already in there. I don't see how YouTube could even take that out. Now, maybe if you did it in YouTube where you put the music in as a separate track, whatever, maybe. You could replace the song. Again, same applies there. Trim out segment. In my case, this particular one, this is a little clip that's basically an outro at the end of my video. I also have the same copyright claims for background music that plays throughout the whole video in several of our videos. So obviously, none of the first three options would work for me anyway. And I'm not going to do that because these guys do not have a legitimate copyright claim. So fuck them. So you're going to go ahead and hit dispute here. Now, I want to be clear. If you're going to dispute, you have to make sure you actually have the rights to use the music. So there are some things that do not qualify for being able to use music. Like you cannot use, a famous artist's music and then just say, oh, well, I'm not making money. That's not a defense for a copyright claim. But if you have purchased stock audio clips, like royalty-free music, through something like Envato, Audio Jungle, anything like that, then you have a license to use this. And this company does not have any rights over that music in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So you're going to go ahead and click on dispute. That's going to bring you up to this. Now, like I said, there are certain things that do not count as a legitimate use of the music, right? Owning a copy of the song or video, right? You cannot go and take, a CD that you bought or an MP3 that you bought and use it in your videos, right? If that's some major artist and you bought their CD, that doesn't give you the right to use it anywhere else. You can only play that. The fact that you're not making money with something, that doesn't change anything. And the fact that you gave credit to the copyright owner doesn't change anything. In my case, I had a license for all of the music that I purchased, right? I purchased it through a legitimate company that provides stock music for exactly this type of purpose. So in this case, I was totally fine. Now, I will also point out, I didn't have a copy of my license. I couldn't find it. I didn't remember because I actually used several of these sites. There's several companies that provide this type of stuff. I couldn't find it initially. I later did find it. But I was able to submit my dispute, and I did end up winning it, which we'll talk about in a second here, even without having that license information. But if you do have that license information, it's going to be a lot better for you. There are some other things, copyright exceptions, such as fair use, very specific circumstances for something like that. And then public domain, right? If there's something that is beyond a certain age, and I forget what it is, it's like 100 years or more, then it's not copyright. Like you could obviously take a Vivaldi song and use that, right? Because he was dead a long time ago. So there's no more copyright on that. But, you couldn't take something from, say, 1980 and, put Material Girl in the background of your video. So don't try and do some shit like that. If you're using stock royalty-free type music and you have a license, then you should be golden. All right, so next screen, once we click continue, is going to be some more details. They're going to ask for your license agreement, which, like I said, I did not provide. I just told them that I had it. I told them where I purchased it from. And then you're going to click this little checkbox that says, I have permission to use this content from the copyright owner. You also have to look at your licenses. And if you're not a lawyer, this may be a little bit challenging. I actually, after the fact, went in and specifically line by line poured through that license contract to see exactly what ways I was able to use this music. And using it online was totally fine. In fact, that's the whole point of this type of stuff. When it comes to royalty free, there are some things you cannot do, generally speaking, like you cannot resell it, for example. You can't put it in something that you're going to resell, but you could put it in a video that you're making. You could put it in a movie. In some cases, it can't be like a nationally aired movie, but it can be like an indie film. So you have to really go through your license and make sure that you know exactly what is and what is not allowed. And depending on the circumstances, it may make sense to talk to a lawyer about something like that. I'm a little bit more wild, wild west, so I like to just kind of wing certain things. And I understand copyright fairly well because I've run an agency for, like 20 plus years. So I have a pretty good understanding of copyright law. If you don't, if you're unsure, then definitely, seek a professional and just verify. In the case of Envato, they actually provide the full license on the website. So you can download your license, and then you can also separately have the terms of that license, which are listed on Envato's website. All right, so now we've put that check mark in, we hit continue. Now this is where you're going to enter in all of your information. So you're going to put check mark in this box that says my video does not infringe on the claimed copyright. I understand that the claimant will be able to view my video and dispute rationale. I understand that filing fraudulent disputes may result in termination of my YouTube account. Ironically, filing fraudulent copyright claims apparently is totally cool, according to YouTube. But, that's a topic for another day. But what you're going to do is in this first text box up here, you're going to put in whatever information you have, right? Where did you purchase it from? You might put a URL in there. You might include a license number if you have that. There's also a thing where, let's see, I don't see it here, but there was somewhere throughout the process where I was able to put like screenshots up and everything. I don't see that on this screen. I don't remember exactly where that pops in at, but it may make sense to put if you have like the license, like for example, in Envato, I said before, you can go in there, you can click on it, and you can actually open your license as like a PDF file. If you don't go that route, you can just put the license information in there, put where you got it from, when you got it, all of that stuff. And then it's going to require your signature, which is just you typing in your name, nothing crazy there. And then you click submit. So, this was the notification that I got when this whole thing kicked off. Ironically, this company was starting a PR war with someone who had the resources to destroy them. And I have a feeling that they did not try to fight, did not try to push back, because they saw who I was and they saw that I have the ability to make a lot of noise. I don't suspect any of you guys will have a real problem getting your disputes won as long as you've got that license information. I submitted mine, and like I said, I didn't even have all of the information when I submitted it. I did not have my license. I just remembered where I bought it. And in Envato's case, there's actually kind of several sub sites. I ended up finding it later. I had purchased it through one of the sub sites, not the main one. But it was like less than 24 hours, and I got a notification that the claim was resolved. My dispute was successful, and I won. So if you guys get hit with this, this is a dead simple process. I highly encourage you to go through and dispute this and get these copyright claims off of your YouTube channel, especially if you're monetized. You have to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be making any revenue from those videos. But like I said, I still think that from a long-term perspective, having these copyright claims on your channel will impact you in some way. I've got to go through here and probably submit these disputes on a few dozen different videos. So I've got a whole bunch of grunt work ahead of me. I suspect that we may get hit with more in the future, in which case we'll just go through the same process. But at the end of the day, the process itself is simple. It's probably a good idea to just take all of that information, throw it into a Google Doc or a Word doc. That way you've got it ready. Every time you need to submit a dispute, you can just pop in there, submit it, and copy and paste, and you're good to go. So hit that up. Definitely spread the word within the creator community. Everybody who has a channel on YouTube needs to know about this because it will affect all of us. And man, I don't know who, but somebody needs to do something about this shit, because to me, it's absolutely crazy that this company can just come out here, leverage software and automation, and just submit these bullshit copyright claims at scale for music that they don't even have the rights to. So hope you guys found that useful. If you did, I'd love it if you'd share it with someone, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks, guys.